Mike.
One of these?
It should be dated November 4th.
What was that on the scales on that?
No, it was
Oh, was it, give me that clerk.
You want to tag me in, Mark?
Can you make sure that's on? I think
Yes,
it's-
it is, yeah.
Okay.
It says Becca.
Is that on? Oh, great. Okay, good. All right.
Do we need to press record? No.
Don't touch anything.
Don't touch anything.
Don't touch.
Okay. Don't touch anything.
Okay, I'm calling the,
I think it's just the start record, which Mark did.
Yeah, just tapped it
The
once.
green
and
finger's
shut it.
ticking, right?
Yeah.
The finger's ticking on the top right, right? Mark, let's get a consultant.
Yeah.
You're all set.
All right, how
It's
many
on.
select
It's
board
on.
members does it take to turn on
Once they
a?
start recording, then you're all set.
I don't think you said that loud enough.
I said, how many select board members does it take to?
It's not a way to start a meeting.
okay,
To our guests.
Stop it.
all right, enough.
That was to
Holly?
make things light.
Calling the meeting to order at
Thank you.
6:31. We have, for the commission, we have John, Judith, Linda, Sandy, Paul, Herb, and Richard are present, so we have a quorum. And we are joined by the select board, Don Howard, Don, Mark, and Jeff.
Give me a second. We'll call our meeting to order.
There you go. All right, first on our agenda is approval of the minutes of October 30th.
Second.
We have a so moved on Richard, a second by Sandy.
What's your name?
The corrections, additions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. We really appreciate the select board coming, and we are very interested in your thoughts on charter change and things that should be looked at and proposed to the town. So, what would you like to tell us?
Before you start, there is no we in this. We have not had a discussion, so there's no position that we've taken on anything relating to the charter. So
Okay.
we're all here, we've got a quorum, it's been called to order, but there is no us, so we're all speaking independently.
All right, so you're all speaking independently.
Could the three come up here so
Sure,
they
come
can
on
catch
up
the
here.
mic, because I don't think it's gonna pick up.
You want us to all come sit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's only one of you.
Madam Chair, I got an email this week from someone saying,
to Paul.
please make sure you speak loudly.
He said, no,
so
you
they
won't.
can hear us on air. And I think also was being
Oh, yeah.
in larger.
Good to see you.
Uh,
You as well. Hey, Mr. Bell, how are you? Well, Mr. Bell. I got it.
All right, so we understand that the select board has not met to have any discussions on charter, potential charter changes. So you're all speaking as individual citizens, just to make that clear to the public. I'm hoping that after this, you all will agenda something, and you will have discussions so that you can then have a formal select board report to us.
That's my plan.
Okay, who wants to start?
I'll go first. I'm the new selectman, the select person. The only thing I would say from my past experience in following, the board and things like that, I would like addressed or looked at. I do remember back years ago when we had somebody proposed a study for 204 Sisson, and I may be wrong. I thought it was voted on, and then it was deemed advisory. So in terms of what I would be looking for is just to get some clarification on what it's voted for in town meeting. If it's considered advisory, do you follow it? That's one thing. Second thing is district representation. I live in West Harwich, but I think prior to, a lot of people came from different parts of the town just to consider it district representation. And the final thing was, this preceded me, I always thought that there was a vote for new hires, and that wasn't done, and just a consideration for when there's new hires that town meeting would vote on. And those are,
And could you say, town meeting does vote on new hires now, because they're in the budget. Are you stating that it should be a separate article?
I believe so, yes. So it's not all bundled up in the budget, so, a no vote would turn the whole budget down. I think you should separate it. And I did hear that was a practice in the past, and just something to consider, so.
And you're speaking as far as budgetary, not as far as the particular persons involved?
Adding the position.
Having the position.
and in
Right.
positions.
The
Right.
original language was supposed to mean that a new hire would be considered separately in a separate article by position, not by person. And then it would be included in the budget, funded in the first year in an article and then in a budget. And that has happened in probably 6 or 7 years.
At least.
If I might add to what he just said,
And make sure we speak up. We've gotten an email that says people are too quiet.
if I might add to what, nobody's ever said that about me. If
I'm
if I-
talking to the other two.
Okay, I thought so. If I might add to that, the budget packet that we had in this last meeting was about a half an inch thick. There was no way for even us to make an amendment to pull anything or to change any hires because we didn't have the wherewithal to dip down to find them. Because we wouldn't have had the documentation. Typically in the past, we used to get line item inserts 6, 7, 8 inches. So as far as adding the position, it wasn't capable of being addressed at town meeting under the budget because we couldn't have even done that. They weren't identifiable.
Okay?
Mark, when you said district, you mean, we got 7 villages in town. Obviously, we're not gonna go, we talked about increasing the board or decreasing the board, but that's a different topic. But so when you say district representation, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was thinking about that. Say with this, say, 5 select board members, you could pair West Harwich with North Harwich, perhaps. You know, you'd look at the population and the precincts, but just to kind of, it's so funny, Rich.
No, it's because people will feel left out. You know, if you combine me, North Harwich, with West Harwich, or if you combine Pleasant Lake with Harwich Center, some people are gonna feel left out.
Yeah,
And I think if you're gonna go district and consider it, we have 7 villages, go to 7 members. I'm not sure that's the answer, but I would be very difficult for us as a charter commission to decide who's gonna be put in with who.
yeah. I'm
That's
just
the difficulty.
bringing up, I didn't know
Oh,
how
no,
to
I-
work it out,
We've
but
had discussions
do
about it
pre-
already.
Yeah.
We
Very
have-
similar to the precincts.
We
for
have
voting.
we
One
have-
at a time.
We have
please.
4 precincts.
Right.
So you could do one from each precinct and one at large if you wanted to stay with 5.
Yeah.
Herb?
I was just clarifying that was precincts, same as districts.
The problem
Also,
with that is,
no
however,
green light
if
on that one, does that-
population suggests that we have to go to 5 precincts or 6, then that really puts everything on its head.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it does
We
take-
did have some discussion about using a precinct and using the 4, and the 5th member would be an at-large member, so that,
And Mark, I apologize.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir, and we are joined by our Collins group, Anthony, Becca, and Anna.
I don't mean to interrupt, just I wanted to add to this discussion about the district. So we can put this on our list. We can provide some data about sort of the populations in the precincts sort of as they are. Now, just for the commission to know, if you're to go that direction, understand why you have to build the districts with precinct voting bucks. I think in communities of your size, one of the things that can be a challenge is that oftentimes populations are centered in certain parts of town, so you have huge districts related to others. Now, what we can do, just hearing this, and this, the committee wants us to do this, we can do a sort of like a preliminary analysis of what that might, of how it's distributed, how it might be broken up. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I think it's like 4,000 or something that is the minimum to make up a district or a precinct. I looked at it before, I just don't remember the exact number, but we can come back, but just know that you have some minimum building blocks to make up districts, if you go that route.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I can, Mr. Keller, I apologize. We should just be listening to what you have to say. We've gone through so many things already.
I'm sure, yeah.
But I think I'll shut my mouth and just listen to all of you, hear what you have to say, take our notes, and then we as a commission can discuss it.
and that's all I have.
Let's stay on the same subject first, and then,
I'm off different, I'm gonna move off different
all
subject.
right, well, I'll stay on this
Okay,
subject.
please, yeah.
What Mark said is a possible solution to something that I kind of feel strongly about, but it's not the biggest problem that we have in the charter. The way it is right now, you don't identify what seat you're running for. It's if there's 2 seats, you're right. I've seen this over the last 15 years more from, I'm not running against anyone, I'm running for the town of Harwich, which in practice hasn't necessarily been true. But more to the point, there's been more and more activity, probably over the last 10 years, where people have started understanding that that's the deal and started talking to people that they know and say, well, let's just vote for me, and the other 2 or 3 or 4 people will need to get their own votes. That wasn't intended because people were supposed to be voting for 2 candidates. It's become really opaque to figure out how everybody's really voting because it's more of an advocacy for an individual at that point.
If I recall the ballot correctly, and Emily will correct me if I'm wrong, if there are 2 seats open on the select board, the ballot says vote for no more than 2, which means you can vote for none of them, 1 or 2. So people do have that option.
And they are increasingly electing to take the single option.
It's a possibility, and that's okay, because the ballot allows that.
I'm not just presupposing that. If you look at the ballots at the end, in the blanks, it's happening increasingly.
I don't know if that's something, I don't know if that's something that the charter can address, or how would you envision fixing that, or changing
More or
that?
less equally you would for almost any other office anywhere, where you would declare that you're running for that seat, a seat.
Can you just explain what that means? Just
Well, let's say
for the
John
listeners.
and Herb were running for a seat, and there's only 2 seats available. I'd have to say that I'm running against John's seat, or for John's seat,
Okay.
in that scenario.
So the 5 seats on the select board are
There
1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
There's never more than 2 unless somebody
And 2, 2, and 1.
meets
Two,
an
two, and 1, okay.
I
unfortunate
think in
end.
that situation, you'd have to number
Right.
the position in the select board that you are.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, whatever, 4, 5.
And when
Because
somebody-
otherwise.
That's not as difficult as districting, however.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And
Right.
that's something that we can, is that something that we can address in the charter, or is that something by state law, it has to be a,
No, there's nothing in state law as to how you do this.
okay,
So
I just want clarification.
I think we can consider it. And we have to consider not just the idea, but the practicality of it.
And the other thing that Mark had brought up has some merit too. Increasingly, with our legal counsel's advice, they keep drifting towards no vote at town meeting is ever more than empowering the select board to do something, and they can't instruct anything at any time, including the audit for 204, anything that was voted on. We've been getting advice from KP Law, which could be contravened if there was language that said so, that I don't even know what the point of going to a town meeting is, coming from a pretty corrupt northeastern city into a town meeting environment. The whole point of a town meeting is to have the citizens get together and be able to opine on whatever they wanted to. So to come up with that, and to come up with a petition article, say, and then vote it overwhelmingly, and then have them say, yeah, that's great, we were allowed to do that, but we're not gonna. It's really problematic to me, because it doesn't feel like good faith anymore. If people, and there have been some issues like that, overwhelmingly vote for something and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Yes, and to be fair to the citizenry, they have an understanding, a belief that if they go to town meeting and say, thou shalt do this, that there is an expectation that their executive group will do it and not weasel out of it. We are putting into, Tony has suggested that we move the definition section up front as opposed to in the back. And this committee would like to have shall in there in the definitions, to say shall means you gotta, not shall is advisory. If it says shall in the charter, then you have to do it. So
That's what I'm
we're already
suggesting.
looking at some of that. Because I think you're right. I think there have been votes at town meeting that have become advisory and therefore haven't happened. What else? Mr. Jeff?
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the entire commission for all the work you've done so far. I've watched every meeting. I attended one reluctantly, made it through. Thank you to Madam Chair. I come prepared, I come knowledgeable, I come with an understanding of where you started, where you've been, and where you are today. Madam Chair and I have had several conversations by phone. Thank you for always being available. Traded a couple of emails, spoken to several other members of this commission over the last several months. Some of the things that I've brought up to the chair, I'll just touch on. One of the ones was a date certain evaluation for our staff. And I think I mentioned something prior to the board turning over, like a late April. Would make sense. That way we don't have new board members evaluating anybody who they have not had a good amount of time to interact with. Select board access to staff was the topic that got brought up when I was here with you all several weeks ago, and how we all should be doing the same thing regarding accessing staff. Language for specific committees and commissions. I sent that one to you, Linda, a little while ago by way of email. And then,
Can I ask for clarification?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Madam Chair. What do you mean by language for committees?
cleaning up ambiguity or giving, when you have, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with this, but when you've got a commission and you've got a department head, and there's really no,
Let me just go, is this relative to their charge?
it's relative to how did we talk about that? It's more relative to the charge of the commission.
Committee of the
Commission,
agency.
of the agency, and how that agency intersects with department heads.
Okay, like Board of Assessors and the assessing department.
Sure,
Yep, or the finance committee and the finance director.
Right, yeah.
correct. And I guess if you can stop me at any point. If the commission requests some information to be gotten or researched from the department head, does the department head have the ability to say, I don't report to you, I report to the town administrator, so I'm not going to do it? I think that was the crux of my question, and I've seen the butting of heads multiple times in certain meetings, and I don't think it's efficient for the town. So I don't, again, this is only requests for this commission to kick it around and come to a decision.
And Jeff, we have talked about how to have access for a board, a town agency, whether it's the select board or any town agency, that how should they get access to a department head to come in and talk about a topic? Because we have town agencies that are supposed to be doing policy and procedure for a group. But if they can't talk to the department head to know whether or not their policy and procedure is completely out of control, that doesn't do anybody any good, and it starts creating too much, as you say.
I agree. Lastly, the other one that we talked about was potentially looking at how the town of Harwich will intersect with its trust, and some language of the guardrails. I love the word you use, guardrails. You use it quite a bit, and I like it. You know, where do the boundaries lie? Where are the guardrails? So those are the things we've already talked about. Purpose tonight, I think I'll go over my top couple. But to your point earlier, Richard, about being quiet and listening, I'd rather have the dialogue, because I'd rather walk out of here feeling like if you had more questions, I answered them for you. So however you want to proceed, obviously, is fine. It's your meeting.
I anticipate once we have it as an agenda item, we will revisit stuff again. This isn't the only time we're ever going to see it.
Understood. So,
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
yeah, sure, John.
What was that last one, the Harwich, what,
How does the town of Harwich intersect with a trust that,
Trust of what?
Housing trust.
well, the
Housing
affordable
trust.
housing
Oh,
trust?
Okay, I
Yeah.
just don't, what you
Yeah.
meant by that.
Affordable housing trust.
Okay.
That's the idea. So, I'm gonna ask Sandy a quick question. You had mentioned earlier, because it goes to my next point. You mentioned regarding Mark's point about new hires, and you mentioned the original language stated this.
The
I need
origi-
clarification on that.
The
When you
original
ask.
language hasn't changed from 87, as far as I can tell. What was understood in 87 was something that everybody who was involved was very close to the original charter. We knew what we meant, we knew what it said, and the intention was always to have new positions put into a separate article, so the town meeting could say, yes, we approve of these new positions.
Mhm.
Over time, this has changed, and I think it changed about 2 town administrators ago.
Mhm.
I charted this out, I've got something on my computer that follows through. Which at one time I sent to one of the town administrators and was completely ignored. But, it at some point started getting buried in the budget. And the
So-
danger of that is, and what has happened is, for instance, I think we had, was it last year or the year before, several new, police officers or firemen?
Fireman.
Which
Three
were
new
funded,
Nine and a half
which
FTE.
were funded inside the budget. Which was probably okay then, but now you're up against some stresses. And that money, instead of being presented to the voters and potentially put out for an override, so it would have been separate from the budget, now you haven't got that flexibility.
I don't argue the point with you at all, and I agree with you. I'm simply asking whether or not, when you stated the original language, that when it was revised in 216, was there a change?
No, there wasn't a change.
That's,
It needs to be added onto. It's a little phrase that says in the separate article.
correct.
That's all.
And as you pointed out accurately, as time goes on, and the originators of the first charter move away, and new people come on, that there could be things lost in translation.
Mostly watching from up there.
Sure, sure.
Hopefully up there.
And to be fair,
Yeah, there are a lot of people who don't think that.
To be fair,
the charter in 1987 does not specify separate article.
No.
It's an understood. And one of the objectives of this group is to take out the understood part and make it clear that either
Yeah.
we're gonna have a separate article or we're not.
right, right. And that's the work you've all been doing, and I've been watching, and I think it's great. I would support a strong town administrator. That would be where I sit. Having one voice from the select board to the town administrator, and then having one clear voice from the town administrator to all the team and all the town, I think would take an awful lot of stress and strife out of day-to-day operations. I don't believe the charter is a document that is to provide power or control to anybody, but rather aim to focus the right people to spend the time on the right things that they're supposed to be spending time on. So a strong town administrator, in my opinion, would clean up the structure of the organization in a way that's clear and understandable to most.
Okay.
That's that. I would, okay, sure, John?
No, I'll
I
wait.
was gonna let him
Yeah.
finish before we started asking questions.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Okay,
Clarification.
Sandy?
I just would like you to clarify what you mean by a strong
Yeah.
town administrator.
Perfect. So I would say that finance director, police chief, fire chief, human resource director, I haven't vetted it out yet, but I'd like to see that conversation happen as to the pros and cons of why each report to whom. I think the less that the select board is involved with the things that occur daily with department heads, police, fire, assessors, I think the better. The select board should drive the vision of the town and work with the town administrator to present that vision based on what the public is looking for. But just through my personal experiences, having to discuss things with the town administrator about finance, it just gums up the machine, in my opinion. So I would like to see more responsibility for the town administrator with the staff, less responsibility with the select board and the staff. Did that answer,
Yeah.
kind of?
That was, Jeff, I want to ask you a question about your vision, your reference to the word vision.
Boy, all right, Paul.
I
Can you,
think we had John was going to be the
Oh,
next
sorry.
person speaking, if you don't mind. He was next.
I was basically, Sandy's question, but to follow up with this one step further. Right now, we have a strong fire chief.
Mhm.
You would envision a strong police chief also, right? That he has responsibility for hiring and firing.
I would.
Department.
I would. That's
And,
correct.
Along with that, as a check to the town administrator or town manager, which we've also talked to about possibly switching to, is the decision can go to the selectmen for a decision, and if nothing is acted upon in 14 days, it automatically becomes the hire. Would you look at that as a possibility, as a check to the town, to the strong town administrator?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Paul?
Coming back to your point about the vision, can you give me a sort of a description?
Sure.
Just
In short,
sense it?
the select board's responsibility, at least in my opinion, is to take the residents and what the residents are looking for and what the residents are interested in,
Okay.
and create a vision, provided it fits within the model of the town and the finances of the town and where the town's already going. That vision comes from the residents. The select board doesn't create the vision, in my opinion. The select board gets the vision and then works through town administration with the town administrator to administer and advance that vision.
Okay.
The town administrator will work with his entire group of direct reports to make that vision happen.
Somebody's got to draft the vision, though. Who do you?
Listen, from the day I started, I asked for a mission statement and a vision statement,
Yeah,
and it has not happened.
but couldn't the vision come from the board?
It could.
After listening to input, whatever, from the community, or
Absolutely.
driving, maybe urging input to be off. I think I just try to differentiate vision from strategic goals or something. I think we're talking about a higher level when we talk about the vision the town has. We've got some goals to implement the vision, but I embrace the idea of the vision very
Yeah.
strongly. But the key is kind of who's going to drive the process to create it.
And would that be a charter-driven process?
I think language could certainly be accommodated there, but I'm just kind of getting more down to the actual implementation of it. Would you see the select board as the ones who would drive the establishment of a vision for the town?
In conjunction with the residents, of
With the
course.
residents.
Yeah.
But again, it's the leadership
Yeah, of
issue,
course,
so, yeah.
of course, of course.
Okay.
Before you switch subjects.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't disagree more with you.
Excellent, we're in the right room.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask him a follow-up question, just for clarification?
Sure.
Sure, and then.
I've got particulars,
and
but
then,
And Jeff, when you said you asked for a mission statement and a vision statement, who did you ask? The select board or the town administrator or the heads of the department? Who did you ask?
So when we did goals and objectives, that was one of the things that I had put on our goals and objectives back about 2 years ago.
We, the select board?
Select board.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still would like to see that.
I just didn't, I didn't
Yeah.
know who you were.
I floated the idea, floated
I
the
didn't
idea
know
multiple times.
Who you
To the board.
floated it to.
Hi, Lou.
Sorry.
I'm
Yes.
confused. You were chair at one point, so I'm not sure why you didn't bring it up.
Not so sure why you brought that up.
Because you're saying now that no one listened to you, and I don't understand that it wasn't brought up.
I'm not going to answer that. I was in the chair for 4 months, but
Okay, we're not gonna get into any
all right,
personnel issues.
I would agree, Madam
Stop
Chair,
that.
thank you.
So, here's the counter argument here. I've come to the conclusion after about 15 years of town administrators that it really boils more down to good intentions than it does to what you got in writing. I know several town administrators on the Cape who are excellent, and they work collaboratively with their boards. But as a matter of actual fact, in terms of how this is operated, over the last 5 years, we've been basically put in a point where you need an assemblage of milk cartons to even know who's on staff. We were told not to talk to anybody for any reason. There was a play made at one point by the town administrator. They didn't want, I think it was alluded to earlier, they didn't want any direct interface with staff, and that any staff discussions had to go through him to even get to the select board, which effectively makes him a strong strong manager. Actually, the only thing he was missing was actually appointing the members themselves. But in general, we've had a bunch of problems, and some of them were easier to deal with than others. But I mean, when you get to the point where you don't even know who's working as department heads, it's really difficult to come up with coherent policies when you're only taking what it is that one person said as gospel truth. So I don't know how you handle that, but the bottom line is, that, and I've spoken about this in practical terms to Tony too, it really boils down to the good intentions of the board and the town administrator to actually collaborate rather than jockey for who's supreme.
And I think one of the things that we want to take out of, just like you want to take out of, it was understood, good intentions rely on a 98.6 person. And if we're going to write a charter that is based on good intentions, we all know where that goes.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
You bring up a great point. And I think in the vision we've discussed, that everyone has to do their job. And it is the way the charter is set. The select board hires a TA. The select board reviews the TA. And if there's a TA there who is not working appropriately within the charter or within the scope of their position, then it is the responsibility of the select board to take corrective action. So, and what we've tried to do is say, we're not looking at any individual people, not this TA, that TA, whatever, not this select board, that select board. We have two members, former select board members, sitting here. But the idea is to say, and my friend, how was your dinner, by the way?
Excellent. Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. It is, you know.
Hurry it up, she's in the car.
With you?
You know, he talks about structure of the town and whose responsibility is what. Whose job is it? Who do you report to? Who do we report to? You know, who do I report to as a chair? You know, who appointed me? That's who I frankly respond to. So if we have, for whatever reason, a TA that is not doing what the entire select board feels is appropriate, it's the select board's responsibility to rein that TA in when they come to their annual evaluation that is done appropriately and said, okay, you're not doing what we want. You're doing things that we're uncomfortable with. We need to make a change. You always, the select board has done goals every year. And I think that's the collaboration of working with a TA and a select board in conjunction with staff and to say, we need to run this appropriately. John and Lou talked about not running the town like a business, but running the town more business-like. And I think that's where individual responsibility for every person who's named in this charter is responsible. And we can't just blame one person, whether it be a strong chair, whether it be a strong TA. Everyone has a role in clarifying, as my friend Sandra talks about, putting guardrails in place. And I think the most important fact that none of you have touched on yet is compliance with the charter.
And here's where you have a problem that I have no answer for. It's all great what you just said, but in practice, there has never been the doomsday solution where the town administrator is flat out fired, or even suggested.
Why not though? Because isn't that the role of the select
I
board to
can't tell you
evaluate?
why. Over 25 years, that has not happened.
Okay, but see, that's the point of, if it hasn't, if the charter allows for it, it should be done. If there's a bad TA, you fire a bad TA. And I understand, no one wants to do that. We want the feel-good of, I don't wanna feel bad that we're firing, Richard Waystack. Well, if Richard Waystack's not doing the
Can we take a
job,
vote on that?
fire me.
I get that.
You can vote on that later.
When Steve was still alive, he and I had a deep philosophical
Sure.
discussion about that. And the fact of the matter was is that I came to the point of telling him I'd fire my own grandmother after a year if she wasn't performing for the town. That's the real paradigm. But is the town administrator doing what you would like them to do under the policy you've set for the town? When you start getting maneuvers going on, though, I found in practice, you're not gonna get 3 votes to do that, because it's so catastrophic. And for some people, it's just tough for them to get their heads wrapped around firing somebody.
But that's their job. Quite frankly, damn it, that's their job. And
Yes,
if you're
it
not doing
is.
the job,
I
get the
told you
hell
I
out
don't
of
know
the
the
seat.
answer, I'm
Yeah,
just telling
yeah.
you
No,
in
I-
practice, that's what's happened.
And it is your job. If you're the people who have to supervise, meaning the select board, supervise and evaluate a specific person, you have to do that appropriately. And if they're not doing their job, I mean, I've seen these, all of these, these reviews have come up, and there's very rarely something in there that says, this person needs improvement. Everything, because there is not a desire to do that. And in business, I know don't run them like a business, but if you have a business and you're trying to get things done, if somebody doesn't get it done, they get counseled, they get improvement plans, and then they have to be shown the parking lot.
That's right.
And so you guys really need to suck it up on that stuff.
Don't look at me.
Well, well, go ahead, Lou, I'm sorry.
No, she's the chair.
Yeah.
I have to be careful.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought you called on me.
That would be nice.
Sorry.
I just got here, so forgive me. But
We're done.
I guess what I hear
We're
is
done
this.
putting you down.
Okay, what I hear though is this. We're talking about building, and I'm always told this and reminded this, about building a system. Take away the personalities. If the system is your number one priority, if that were the system, and your number one job as select people, no matter who it is to hire and fire. Number one, written, nothing else. Second, part of the charter where it's lacking and where the select boards have been lacking is a measuring stick that allows for everyone to be measured, from the select board down to the town committees. And I'm going to say this, is the minute somebody says we have it, I'm going to jump up and down like a monkey.
I'll pay for that.
Yeah, I will too.
Okay?
I don't mind.
What is the vision for our town? Until we have that, there is no measuring stick. Everything that's being done isn't measured
Just
against
so
it.
you know, that was discussed before you came in.
Okay, then I'm not here.
And Lou, just so you know, they're speaking as individuals tonight, because they haven't discussed this as a group.
Yeah.
I have
But
one
that's-
more addendum for this, though, and this is a problem that grew up out of time. When that charter first started, we didn't hire town administrators under contracts.
How did you hire them?
Just hired, they
It
were
was an
employees as
employee-
well.
employee.
Yeah, they were employees. Legal counsel has been more and more opining that the contract, especially over the last couple of years, the contract doesn't call for a performance review. I think that the charter should specify whatever contract
There's no.
is let, that it's consistent with a framework that you guys get put in there,
So we
that it
have-
has to include that as an element.
So we have contracts with these various town administrators signed by the select board, and it does not have a performance evaluation part. I would say that the select board, in past, has fallen down on the job.
Well, then legal counsel has too, because they've
Maybe they
opined.
have, but you're the ones who are signing that
They have
contract.
opined that you can hire and fire absent bad performance.
Mhm.
So that in conjunction with the fact that there's no specifics in the contract that calls for anything, even loosely done each year at a certain time in a certain place, you need to be able to put a performance evaluation into place. We didn't do one 2 years ago.
At all, yes.
So when you
And
say
it wasn't a
that-
violation because his contract didn't call for one. And the town administrator at the time said, you can't evaluate me because it doesn't call for it.
But the charter does.
Yes.
The charter does call for it.
Mm.
But they
here's
said
thing.
that the contract
But
overrode the
here-
charter.
oh, well, this is where,
Oh,
you know,
town council.
well, I don't wanna speak for the entire commission. But we're talking about clarity. And Linda
Section
spoke
7.
about it earlier. And if it is in the charter, that's our constitution. That's what we live by. And if the charter says the select board shall annually evaluate the town administrator, I frankly don't give a hoot what the contract says. That is what the charter says. And that, frankly, I don't know why a select board is writing a contract that is contrary to the charter.
So maybe in the charter, we need to put a process in where the select board has steps to follow before termination.
I'm fine with that. I'm just
But
saying
that's
that
very
there's
in
two
the
things that are
weeds.
pitted against each other right now, and legal counsel has said that their opinion is that the contract overrides the charter.
Don, if there was something in the charter that had a process for the select board to follow in terms of dealing with a town administrator that the board felt shouldn't be there, but there was a step process, would you be opposed to that? Would you like that?
There is
No,
one.
as a matter of fact, I think the
There is-
charter
There
actually
is a
is.
process.
Okay, but I'm going even deeper to say, step number 1, council, step number 2, this, step number 3,
You
you're
don't
out.
put, I would say you don't put that in a charter.
I would too, but since legal counsel, and we're trying to make clarity, and I don't like going into the weeds that way, but if that's the only way that we can, that number one thing done that they're supposed to do, which is hire and fire, because they're resistant to hire and fire. And I don't blame any, sitting on this side, I hate firing people. Sitting on this side, I love firing people. Okay, so if the process was there, it might make it simpler. It might make it more effective.
Well, it's really important, we've got our consultants here online, is that we need to clarify this, and Anthony, I hope you're listening to this, Becca, that it's in the charter, and we have counsel saying separate things. That whatever we do vetting the new language that's gonna be in the charter, it has got to be vetted appropriately by, if necessary, our own counsel.
Yes.
That cannot and will not be overruled by maybe a shocked opinion from legal counsel. So I think this is, you can hear how important it is right now with our sitting members of the select board. So I hope that you will listen to this conversation and advise us appropriately so that when something is written in the charter, it cannot be contravened by a contract that goes against the charter of the town.
And I'd like to bundle this to a conclusion that you guys have already talked about.
Anthony, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add a little bit to the conversation. So I'm going to be a little delicate here. So, we're not providing legal advice to the committee, but, I would say it seems a little unusual that you've got the charter and that, I'm not trying to give you, I'm just saying that legal opinion that the contract supersedes the charter, that sounds a little unusual to me. But again, you have legal counsel. What the only thing I did want to sort of add in on is there are risks to adding an explicit process in the charter around the firing, only because it provides additional procedural issues for, I know we're talking about the town administrator, for a town administrator in the future to say it wasn't strictly followed and therefore my termination isn't valid. So I'm just saying adding more detail to the charter adds risks that may not may not be valuable to whatever the process, because the charter's going to last for years and years. So we usually would see, the town's council representing the select board, representing the town, put together a robust contract that protects the town in the event that it needs to move act against the town administrator. And the charter gives the select board the authority to say, where the buck stops with us, we can terminate this position. So I just want to continue the conversation. I just want to add those things there.
Sandy?
Okay, I got a couple of things. First of all, as far as town council's opinion is concerned, you are looking for a new town council. And there's a lot of good reason why you should be changing town council, this being one of them. I think that one of the big problems we've had in this town over recent years has been exactly that. Moving on. Going in a whole lot of different directions here. You're talking about vision. I'm not even sure I know what that means. When you are sitting down to say, what is the vision for the town? Somebody's gonna have to tell me what that means. Not right now. Not right now.
Not now.
Not now. I don't want to get into it now.
I wanted to hear it, Lou. Tell me later.
I don't, and you can talk about who's responsible for what until the cows come home. The selectmen should do this, the selectmen should do that, the selectmen should evaluate. What you're not taking into account is people and politics. And the select boards, there are always politics. You got 3 people who in one moment want to support a town administrator and 2 people who don't. The next week, all the deck chairs have been rearranged on the Titanic. There is no way that I know of to prevent that. So, again, it comes back maybe to compliance. All of this always seems to come back to compliance.
And then the point is, there are 6 steps in the charter right now to remove a town administrator. It's not easy to do.
No.
Nor should it be, but there are very direct steps to be taken. That should overcome the politics involved, so that you're right. If on one week you have 3 select board members who say, we love the town administrator, and that next week he pissed them off or she pissed them off, and they want to change it, that process.
Especially if you've got a town administrator who's really, really good at manipulating.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No.
But what I'm hearing Anthony say is maybe we don't want to be quite so detailed in the steps required to remove a town administrator.
Have you seen our charter that has those in there? It's section 7 of the charter.
It's very detailed.
And that, again, we could use some advice on that, and that's a good point, Cindy. Maybe it may not be. But I'm looking for the consultant to say, maybe it is too stringent, but the bottom line, it's been there.
I'm somewhere else.
Go ahead.
Okay, when I think of the administrator being terminated, I think of the administrator has done something for cause. In other words, comes in maybe drunk.
We don't need the examples.
Doesn't come in at all. Has committed a crime. I'm not whether I think or they think or so-and-so thinks they're doing a good job or not. That's not a reason for termination.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It absolutely is.
Shenanigans are a reason for termination, in my opinion.
It's a
I do not say you're doing a great job, so therefore you get away with murder.
That's a tough one.
No.
I gotta tell you,
No.
If the
No.
select board wants to go in one direction, by majority or unanimously, and you've got a town administrator who isn't in sync with that, that's a good reason not to have that town administrator. You need somebody in that position who is going to work with and honor what their boss wants.
So if you have a structure in process, and the structure is that the select board has a responsibility to determine what the objectives are of the administrator, and through the administrator, they set the objectives for each department. And everyone is aligned. That's what your charter, I think, that's what the structure is set for. When you get an outlier who doesn't follow, then no matter what your charter says, it isn't going to work. So I think we have to focus within what is a structure that works. I can't build a structure for the one-off or the two-offs that come. I can't write something that doesn't have specifics for select board that doesn't have reasons for termination, because if not, then it's a discretion. It becomes, and I'm not sure that the people we elect have that ability to make those decisions. It becomes too political. That's why the specifics, okay, forgive me.
But
Can I
again-
finish?
But
What-
again, if the charter is written such that, and it right now has in there, that the select board can remove the town administrator by an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. Anthony and company have suggested some revisions to the language.
Right.
However, it's the same question we had when we were talking about recall.
Yep.
What's egregious? The charter is supposed to be the process. If there's a
Right.
recall, this is what you do. You get a petition, you get a bunch of people to sign it, the town clerk says it's okay, an election is called, and you go. There is nothing that said, and then, and in the petition, you have to say why you want to recall.
Yes.
But you don't put that in the charter, meaning this is egregious if this is not.
Right.
I mean, that's up to the petitioner. I mean, I would still go back to, that if the select board, because you all have to have common sense too. If the town council is saying, this contract is okay, but you look at it and you read it, and it doesn't have in there how to do such and thus, you have to raise your hands and say, why isn't that in there? I mean, just because town council says something doesn't mean it's gospel, unless it's quoting Mass General Law, Section 2, Item 552.7, you have to do it this way. A lot of stuff isn't. Go ahead, Don.
Let me end what you just said, but I think what I'm trying to get at it is something much simpler than what we've been discussing. The example for what you just said is, it's not on its face contrary to the charter, but when you put in a clause that gives you 6 months termination pay or a number of other things, you're effectively tilting the charter so that it becomes costly, as well as something that you had the right to do in the first place. So you're adding a layer of something. Rather than words like manipulative or some of the other more judgmental words, I'm looking at something, the word prescriptive. We shouldn't have been here earlier talking about what the word shall means. I mean, that's the real problem here is, okay, it allows you to, it says that you've got to come up with some language that everybody believes is common sense, and the way that you execute it is a whole different story. You're right, you don't want to put that in there. I remember studying in college the Soviet Constitution. The thing was massive, even guaranteed you a pencil to write your grievances. But it gave you no actual rights. I mean, but it went on and on. Being specific doesn't necessarily get you to where you want to go. So, I mean, if the framework is there, I get that. But the relationships between these organizations and the department heads, and you got to spell that out, and it's got to be more prescriptive, that thou shalt, as opposed to you may or shall. Because we've gotten stuck on that for the last 10 years. What does shall mean?
And actually, I mean, I think if you talk to people around town, most of them went to Miss Mitchell's English class, as I did in 3rd grade. And I have a pretty good idea of what shall means. I think I heard Anthony.
Yeah, I just wanted to, there was a question, I think, a little earlier, which I sort of didn't get a chance to answer. So, some charters, I think some even in your computer, we can do an addendum to the existing memo around just the removal process. But they do have process in there around, a formal motion and a bunch of, they vary across charters. I think the way to think about it, and I think the previous speaker really spoke to this, is that when you add process to the charter, you're actually adding guardrails that benefit actually the administrator, because you're adding things that the select board has to follow in terms of the termination process. So again, I'm not saying that you can't do it, or I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do it, but I'm not explicitly saying, the committee can do whatever it wants, but the way to think about it is that you're actually adding things that are beneficial to the town administrator and adding groups for the select board to go through the removal. And that's the framework, I think, that we're thinking about.
But I will say I agree with Jeff about the hierarchy thought of this, about strong. If that's what you mean by strong, it's inefficient to have 5 people managing anybody. I mean, hiring them is one thing, managing them, completely different story. We are not set up to manage anything as an ongoing endeavor. And probably the police chief, the fire chief, all those people should funnel through the town administrator, if for no other reason than it's not fair to whoever that is to manage anything without knowing what's being told to the other people.
Couple of odds and ends. How would you all feel about specific language in the charter on chair rotation, term limits? Those two. You know, should there be something, because we have committees, town agencies, excuse me, where the chair has been the chair since God created dirt. It's not particularly healthy, to me. So what would you think about something, and you can have that conversation when you go back to your own select board meeting, but things like, should there be something in the charter that says a person can chair a town agency no more than 2 consecutive years? They can go off for a year, then they can do 2 more years, but there's gotta be a break. I think the second thing is term limits in general. Should there be term limits? There are 2 committees, 2 town agencies that have term limits. One is the finance, and the other one is the cultural council. But the cultural council is by state law. So they have state law term limits, can't do much about that. But the finance committee is the only other committee in town that has term limits. Should there be any term limits? Should there be term limits? And I don't expect you to answer that at this point, but take that back to think about. Also the chair rotation issue. Should somebody be chair no more than 2 years in a row?
I think it's more important to justify in the charter rotating it, because that's been a problem. When I first served, it went around in a circle,
Yes.
and then it came back in and went around again.
So, sorry. I would support a rotating chair. I would make sure that I would suggest that the charter has a provision for extenuating circumstances, where if somebody were to exit and somebody's been the chair for 2 years and then 3 new board members come on, there has to be a provision for the unexpected.
Okay.
That's good.
So we kind of ran into that. We had 40% of our board turn over, and we knew one person didn't want to be the chair and 2 new people were on. So there was you know, so I think there just needs to be a provision for that.
Okay.
But I'm in favor of rotating the chairs for sure.
Yes, Lou?
If you have a rotating chair, does that impact whether you have term limits or not? That's what you need to also think about, because one may be enough, you may not need both. Depends on which. So I would offer that.
Actually, they're not one's a substitute to the other. If you want to go in that direction, you should have a lead selectman.
Yeah.
If you're going to say that the same person's going to be chair all the time.
Just throwing it up.
It would seem to me that after a while, if one person is constantly chair, human nature makes it their committee,
That's correct.
not the town's committee, and then allows the other members of the committee to sit back and say, well, they're gonna take care of everything. But you have to be ready when you get on a town agency, you get elected to something, you really have to understand that you will be called upon to take a leadership role.
And in this discussion, just I want you to consider, at one point, you were announcing every meeting how many vacancies we have on committees in the community, and trying to fill the vacancies that we have, because we don't have enough people to serve on the committees that we have in the town. So you can have term limits, but if you don't have people to backfill those positions, you're gonna have a whole lot more committees without members.
Of course, that also begs the question, do we have too many committees? Which is a different question.
The age-old question.
And I just want to counter a little bit to what Richard said, that I think that it actually offers an opportunity to figure out a way to get more of the townspeople engaged in committee.
If you
Possibly.
could figure that out, would you let them know?
Well, I mean, if there are term limits, you know, there are people in town that are terribly shy, and they may not step forward knowing that there are no term limits. But if there were term limits in place and that they knew that openings were going to come up, that they wouldn't have to necessarily run against someone, because.
But how does that impact the fact that we have so many now that we're not being able to fill?
Well, I think there, again, I will just repeat that there is an opportunity for someone somewhere to figure out an engagement strategy to bring more people in. I don't think, you know, the term limits question is gonna solve that one way or the other.
Go ahead.
You really have to be dedicated to go to some of our committees, really dedicated. It's not like it's a fun thing to do.
Like go to the select board
Okay.
meetings?
Yeah, I understand, I want,
Thank you.
but again, that doesn't deal with the system. Whether people show up or not, if people don't show up to fill a committee, then that committee shouldn't be there. That's a simple resolve. The reality is you build a system, and then people have to fit into that system. I guess the real question is this: we have 45 committees, correct? Or is it 49? I get.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Give or take.
43. Okay. So who do they report to?
And for the most part, they get, that's a good question, but they get selected.
But no, it's
The
selectmen.
interview committee.
They do the annual,
Yeah. So, but, yes, they report annually. I've been to many of those reporting. Who?
Most of them are not charter.
Paul,
usually
you're on the historic committee,
specified.
right?
Correct.
I'm a select board. Paul, this year, I want the historic to work on this, and this. I want them townwide to give me a process for saving old homes this year. Who does that for you?
No one.
No. I think you can say that about
But I
every
think-
committee.
With due respect, I think that within each committee, they have a sense of what's to be done.
Well,
Now, whether it fits into the vision
Uh-huh.
of the town, which doesn't exist right now.
that's correct. And this is where all the
problem.
failings are.
So,
This is what I'm
if
trying
we
to
don't
bring
have
up.
it here, it's not gonna,
That's
But
right.
Lou, that's a regulatory committee, and their advisory committees are where we're hemorrhaging.
Well,
yeah.
it's regulatory, it's two committees in one there, that's a
Yeah,
real
but they
issue.
derive their
That's-
authority under the state.
Yeah, but we,
Most of our problem is a proliferation of these advisory committees. And I'll tell you, every one of you should sit in the front of that the meeting space and try to take a committee apart. Because I have never seen anybody come in and say, that's great, I wish you had done this sooner. There's always an advocacy for every committee. We haven't been able to eliminate a single committee in
Don,
years.
let me finish, okay? So, if committees and the select board were functioning as a unit of government, wouldn't the committees, part of their processes and part of their jobs is to give you the policy that they would like to see throughout the town, and the select board then looks at the policy and says yes or no? Shouldn't all these committees be driving policy up to you?
They still need people.
Okay, so,
Well,
that's,
I would say, yes, that is a role of the committees. The ones who have more current charges, this is the committee, this is how many people are on it, blah, 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 blah. This is what they're supposed to be doing. The committees, the agencies that have a current charge, meaning written in the past few years, that stuff is in there. There are committees whose charges date from 1912.
Yeah.
And this stuff isn't in there. So that is a 1912.
That's before we were.
I wasn't here then.
But they're old.
I
And
was,
the
no.
world has changed since the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. The world has changed. We have been deficient in our town administration in not keeping these charges up to date.
Could I just interrupt? this is not an accusation against anyone,
No.
any particular
no.
board, any particular TA. It's just, these are the issues that we're seeing with the charter that need to be addressed, and we're trying to get as much input from everybody to say, how do we solve some of these problems that we see? So I don't want anyone to think, oh, well, I didn't do it when I served as a chair of this, or when I served in the select board, or when Sandra served in the select board, whatever. We're looking at areas that are holes. We need clarity, we need guardrails, and we need compliance.
Madam Chair, if I may, quickly. I think everybody in this room is doing a really good job of evaluating the town of Harwich accurately. Because if you don't evaluate accurately, you can't really form a plan to move forward and improve anything. I'll agree with you when you made the point about structure. And before we get off, structure of committees, before we get off the topic of committees, one of the points I had made was exactly what a lot of people have already touched on independently. The language of if there are 4 consecutive unexcused misses, okay, which happens all the time, all the time, which goes to the overarching theme of compliance and accountability, okay? If we have a structure, to your point, and the structure is not followed, what good is the structure or the charter in the first place? And to Don's point, which I wholeheartedly agree with because I was on the firing squad, I was aimed at, I understand how difficult it is to go toe-to-toe with a committee that is not functioning the way a committee should be functioning. And I'll leave it at that. There's also language in that same sentence or that same paragraph that states committee members are responsible for making or attending 75% of all the meetings. I think that's very ambiguous. I think that doesn't, or what? If they don't make 75%, what happens?
You become the chair.
Put
No,
that in
no,
the
but he's-
charter. No, but
He's right, the question has been all along, do we need to fire them, or do they just automatically age out because they haven't been in accordance with that clause?
And that was the exact point I was gonna make. Should it come, and then I wanna talk about quickly white space and the, talk about, the select board meeting less often. But if the select board is gonna meet less often, we can't be doing things like that. We can't be having discussions about removing committee members. It should just be an automatic. If you miss 4 consecutive in a row, the chair of the committee removes you from the
But
committee.
you think the process is,
And then it
our
gets-
town clerk is in the room.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It follows the process,
Right,
but there's no discussion.
but here's the thing, we have people who've missed more than 4, maybe 6, 8, 10 meetings, who cannot be replaced, don't automatically fall off unless they submit a resignation
Right.
to the town clerk.
Right.
That then goes to the select board. We need to make those changes.
Sure.
And if that's the case, we should do it.
And this is part of how the charter should speak. And I also think that if a committee, and I'm involved in one right now, that can't get it together, they just can't get it together, they can't meet, they should have a 60-day opportunity to pull it together, 90-day, 120-day, it doesn't matter to me. But there needs to be some kind of structure and process so that if they default and they don't perform, it's done. And then the committee goes away on its own. No hearing, no vote, no nothing. And it would.
Can you expand on pull it together?
Sure. If they can't find a way to get meetings scheduled where they can hold a quorum, that would be what I mean by pulling it together. They can't go 9 months without the 4 members figuring out how to get 3 people at the table and can call themselves a committee.
What happens to their work? Like, what happens to their charges?
Well, if the committee is, their charges, I would argue, Judith, good question, weren't being worked on, being followed, there's been no progress, it's been a black hole. So I don't view it as their work, their progress, or,
Well, not
or anything.
theirs necessarily, but like the charges that are in the charter?
so you can keep the charge in a file in case it gets reconstituted at some point, in case there's 4 or 5 people who want to reignite this, but then you come up with another issue for the charter is, then that needs to come to the select board, because that is not day-to-day operation of the town, in my opinion. That is the select board reconstituting or constituting a new committee. And then the select board would have to determine whether or not they want to do that.
And just remember, at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of the committees are not in the charter. They're advisory.
They're
So
advisory.
what that means, the answer to your question is, it falls on us because we don't have anybody advising us anymore. But it's still nonetheless our responsibility.
Lou, you're gonna have a heart attack over there.
No, I'm not. I'm just enjoying this. So, let me ask you a question.
Who?
Anyone. I'm not picking on any certain person. You guys.
How you doing, Mark? You still
You're
here?
the knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You're living through this.
Move along.
So, we have all of these committees. What if we thought of reorganizing in a different way? So, and again, I'm out of the box, so forgive me. So what if, let's say the recreation department, the bicycle committee reported to them. Anything to do with recreation, the golf committee reported to them. They were responsible. So that you're directing, and it's being directed towards what the town wants, rather than individual. I don't know if I'm saying it clearly. I've got it clear in my mind.
Can I jump in just a, would that be a policy decision versus a charter decision?
It
That's a
would,
policy
Yeah.
decision.
It's policy.
and yet, you would think that that would be reasonable. When we tried to do that with the Trails Committee and the Bikeways Committee, you figure, hey, they're both out there and going on trails, and they must be able to cooperate. You have no idea of how resistant both committees were, that if you do that, I'm quitting.
Question,
Maybe that's the
okay.
answer.
Madam Chair,
Anthony, go for it.
just to help the conversation, I was thinking about the things you were saying. This would be relatively unusual, but I'm just giving it to the committee to sort of mull over. I think something you could put in the charter would usually be in the general provisions section, is a provision around, now there's a couple of levels of committees. There's state committees, but then there's also ones created by bylaw of the town meeting or by the select board charge. We could put a provision in there saying that no committee created by town meeting bylaw or by the select board shall be in existence for more than the term a year without formal renewal at the next
Sunset.
town meeting. I think that's something you could.
Excellent.
That would be unusual, it would be new, but I'm sort of thinking through the issue that you guys are articulating, so I'm just putting that on the table.
Well,
Sunset provision. It's in there.
to Anthony's point, these committees are supposed to come before us annually and give us a report.
Yeah,
Some do,
that's it.
some don't.
Stop.
But you haven't asked for that, because
Yeah.
We actually
the
told
past-
them not to
the
2
past
years
2
ago.
years, you told us not to come.
That's,
So,
yeah,
what do you want?
a structure, something that's followed, and if it's not followed, my last point is a charter compliance commission.
We have that on our list.
And I would support it.
I think we all
want it, I'd want it to be elected, not appointed. I
Right.
think that would be the way to go. And I think it would shine a flashlight on both sides of how our town operates, which is both administration and select board. It would make it, I think, work better. Thank you, sir. You see that, Anthony? All right, there we go.
We're live
Applause
streaming.
coming from the next door.
Perfect.
Jeff is claiming it.
Yes.
Sandy, go
Anyway.
ahead.
Just one little quick thing, because somebody mentioned the word policy. I've looked through your policies on the website. Do you know you have policies on there that are 30
I know,
years old?
I know.
You might want to actually start going down that list. and
We
seeing
actually
that.
have started this year.
So, yeah, so
Like-
that would be the beginning of
And
the
Pete was the
structure.
impetus of it, but we have started doing that, pulling them out and saying, hey, no one ever voted to stop this.
Yeah,
What do you want to do about it?
My favorite is if the person going to, I think it's the police academy, if they leave within a year, they have to pay back the cost of the police academy. That has never happened.
I'll give them the 2,400.
You know, it brings up an issue, like, Mark, you said you're the freshman member of the select board. All of you have been there, those of you who have served as the newcomer on the board. It's very difficult to get caught up to speed. with all of the charter, the bylaws, and the policies that are in place, you know, to make a decision. You know, and this is part of the discussion of strong TA. Who has got the training, you know, who understands Mass General Law, who understands some of these things, who should understand them in the town versus someone coming in. If I decided to run, I don't know all these policies that some are 30 years old. I don't know all of these bylaws. I may not know everything in the charter. I should after this, but it takes time for a select board member, who's the executive branch of our community, to get caught up to speed with this. And there's nothing in the charter that talks about any level of training for anyone who does sit in the board. I know one of the boards I sit on, you have to be certified by the state because it's a regulatory board. And that you have to have the training to be able to sit on that board. We don't have that for the executive board of our community.
I will say one thing that's spiritually uplifting in this conversation that you guys wouldn't be privy to. Natasha has been spending several months now drawing from every source that she can, every policy, regardless of its age, to put it together into one place. So that we can see it, because the reality is, I don't care, anything that you just said doesn't work if these fellows come on the board and they don't even know that there's a policy.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, if sitting as a board member, either one of you, do you really want 45 committees coming and giving you a 15-minute presentation? And then, if they do, what action does that force you to take? And how much time does that involve? And how do you follow up on it, being that you're part-time, unpaid executives?
I think that's what Jeff was talking about, trying
But-
to create
but-
substrata.
But it just can't be self-acting. There has to be something, an area of responsibility. I agree. Thank you. Money, please. There has to be something, and this is something we have to think about it. But the real question is, do you want the committees all coming to you and reporting?
So through you, Madam Chair, if I may, I have seen, I'm sure you have as well, and maybe you in your early tenure here, I've seen certain committees, traffic safety, work really well and make recommendations, they get put forward, and the process works seamlessly. Treasure chest. You had a rough go at the beginning, might have been a shovel or an axe that got thrown, but other than that, we're now moving along. I don't need to talk to them much. They could write a one-page report, submit it to the select board at the end of every year saying, all's good, thanks for your support, don't need anything. Golf committee, they weigh in on irrigation. So not every committee has the same responsibility as all the others.
I guess I'm trying to decentralize, or centralize to some degree. My span of control was 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty good at multitasking. I think the select boards are involved in too many things and doing nothing. We just talked about, we have in the charter a way of terminating a.
Don't hold back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Terrorizing.
We have,
At some point, he's gonna smack you.
I'm sorry.
I think we
Here, listen to this.
we ought to write into the charter that there cannot be more than one
Leave your Italian at home.
Okay,
Either that
so,
or move over.
don't let me forget. So, we have in the charter a policy of doing away with a bad administrator. An administrator that isn't functioning properly. It's been there for 30 years. Never been used. Is it because you got the lineage of select people? There's a book out, I won't mention it, but on the cover it's pretty interesting. You didn't have the chutzpah to do it. You didn't read the charter.
Lou, I think, but that stuff gets to the 98.6. Just because somebody is elected to the select board does not make them all omnipotent, all-knowing, all creative, everything. It doesn't. They're ordinary people.
Yep.
Really, you guys are extraordinary, but they're ordinary people. They're just us.
That's exactly what I'm saying, is they're doing too much.
It's a possibility. However, The question becomes, how much control and span of authority do you want to put into the town administrator to the point that you end up with a mayor?
I don't want a
That's
mayor.
a different question.
It is a good question also.
How much authority do you want to put into the town administrator?
They like
Now
that.
I'm getting applause.
As much authority as they can handle, because they're the professionals, being guided by direction from the thinkers, from those that can look at the broad picture, that aren't dealing with, oh my goodness, this road needs a new pavement on it. Oh, the golf problem. Oh, no, big picture. Hey, do we really want big housing in town? Our population is going down, our school budget is going up. That's something to deal with. That's a major issue. And I think unfortunately, our town budget is probably to be going up at least 40% over the next 4 to 5 years. That's the issues to deal with. I don't care whether the sprinklers don't work at the golf course. I really don't, but I do care if my taxes are gonna go up by 30 or 40%.
Okay, is there a point that you're trying to make?
I want the select board to deal with high-level issues,
Got it.
okay? Not low-level issues.
Let me ask
Oh.
Sorry.
one question to the board here. One of the provisions in the charter does mandate your participation as a member of the select board on each committee.
No, it doesn't mandate anything of the sort.
Well,
It creates a liaison that acts as a telephone line. It does not mandate that we go to meetings and that we participate.
well, that's my question, I guess.
That's-
It does
John is
expect you in the charter to be a liaison.
We're not ex
No.
officio members, though. It's
They are-
very
So-
clear.
So that's not a mechanism that if maybe refined somewhat language-wise would help to reduce the need to have these guys coming before you and, in essence, taking up an extraordinary amount of
No,
time.
because the select board member doesn't have the vote of the select board to make any of these utterances to anybody typically.
Right, and each committee is supposed to submit a report to the town
Right.
report every year.
Right.
We're not
Every
supposed to be part of their
Well, that's
deliberations
No,
done.
but
or
I think
discussions.
what Paul's
Yeah, that
saying
would be
is
going
that
backwards,
if
right.
the committee puts in a report, shouldn't the liaison from the select board be the one presenting it to
Sure.
your colleagues, right?
That can be discussed.
could be,
And that would narrow down the amount of time that needs to be.
certainly can be discussed. You know, we try to stay as much out of the way and let them deliberate and do the work that they're supposed to do and be facing the public for their meetings and the questions that may arise for their specific committee. If they have questions, concerns, or issues, then they can call and ask us to come in and help, but we, by and large, don't intersect with them much at all.
And should it not be the conduit, another hierarchy?
Telephone line, conduit.
Right,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that when I have an issue, I don't go directly to the town administrator. I go to my liaison.
We're the
And then
liaison.
my liaison will advise either to the board or to the TA
Right.
to address the issue that I have.
Exactly.
Anyone, and that's the hierarchy, that goes back to your point of direct line hierarchy of an organizational chart, yours and John's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your,
But it also requires that if you decide to circumvent that, the select board member who is in the process of participating in that circumvention has to say, you need to talk to the town administrator. That's their job.
And to that point, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just
Madam
want
Chair.
to kind of complete my thought here, which is it possible that by strengthening, by revising some of the language here, we can we have kind of the base line here. Can we create a structure that allows for or defines such that your role would be enhanced or more participatory or?
That's why this language was put into place, because a lot of selectmen in days gone by would fit the sixth member of a five-member committee.
Yeah, they were too involved.
This was a corrective measure.
Well, but is it serving any purpose?
You don't want your
I think it
selectmen
does.
driving the committees.
Well, I don't
But
want to
what Jeff
drive
was
it,
saying,
but-
they're
but
adults
does it
and they
provide
give them
the
the charge and the
liaison
job.
that it should?
We're here to help. We're not here to be part of their committee. Madam
Because
Chair, if I may,
what
because
point- What
this,
would the point be
I
if
was
we were
going to
getting
say-
advice?
I was going to say that on the Traffic Safety Committee, which I've sat on, and Jeff has been our liaison for a bit, a couple of years now, and that is the route we take, is that something comes up in the select board and he'll call me and say, can your committee take a look at this? And we have also gone the opposite way and brought forth town-wide policies that we've developed, came through Jeff, went to the select board. So it really does go back and forth, but Jeff does not sit. The liaison is not supposed to be part of the deliberation of that committee.
The conundrum is, if it's an advisory committee, do you really want the select board saying what advice they want to be giving?
That's a good point.
That's the problem.
So, Madam Chair, if I may talk then about the opportunity for this commission to discuss and deliberate over the simple 3-word tied together line that says day-to-day affairs of the town.
Working on that
We're
one.
working on
That, I'm gonna give you a quick story, and then I'll stop. When I was a new board member, of course, I'm getting phone calls from everybody about everything.
Because they
Trash,
think you're a sucker.
thank you. Now they know.
You're the new one.
Now they know. Now they're sure of it. Mailboxes, power lines, garbage, all very important. I get it. It's important to the residents. It should be important to us. My error in the beginning was I would call one of the department heads. Not to direct, because the charter clearly states the select board will not direct day-to-day operation or deal with department heads in that manner, but we can call for information and investigation, I think is how it's put in the charter. To that end, 2 hours later, I would get a call from the town administrator saying, hey, next time go through me, because I have to handle that. And it puts us all in a precarious position. Music to my ears, because now I only have to do one thing instead of 2. Call the town administrator, have the town administrator follow through with the department head. Day-to-day operation, we're in the throes right now of a question about a license in the town of Harwich. Is it day-to-day operation, is it not? I haven't gotten the answer whether it is or it isn't. So I think the way I look at it is if it involves a department head, it's day-to-day operation. If it involves the select board to execute a license, then it is not day-to-day operation of the town. I could be convinced differently, but that is how I try to keep it very simple for me. And if this commission could find a way to deliberate and discuss and see how to maybe clarify what day-to-day operation of the town actually means, it would probably reduce an awful lot of conflict. Because as the select board and town administration, if they're not operating in lockstep, everything flows downhill negatively to the entire organization. So if the language were to say something like this, this will be quick, I promise, if I can just find it. The TA or the TA designee shall execute all license agreements, renewals, and terminations in all municipal buildings townwide. That would make me as a select board member know that that is not in the purview of the select board. That's day-to-day operation of town. Conversely, if it said the select board shall execute, renew, and terminate all licenses in all municipal buildings townwide, then I know that's not day-to-day operation of the town. That's the clarity, as we've spoken about, that I would be looking for, at least understanding day-to-day operations of the town. And then lastly, I would say, what is the process when something occurs where the TA, the select board, and legal have to get brought in to determine whether something's day-to-day operation of the town? I don't know, we're kind of working on that, or at least, I've spoken to Tony and we're working on that right now. I don't know where the other 2 board members sit because we haven't talked about it, but.
He and I have.
Yeah. So.
And I don't
I'm
view
really
the licenses
interested.
as licenses. If you look at them generically as contracts, we're the contracting officer, but I don't know of any place in any level of government where the contracting officer goes out in the field and inspects stuff and does contract administration. There's a whole different body of people who do
Sure.
that. And I would argue that the administration should deal with the administration of the contracts.
And I
once
don't
they are
care
issued.
which way it goes. I just want to know which way it's going. That's it. Clearly spelled out. So it's kind of like interesting that this is happening right now while we're talking about charter changes and day-to-day operation of the town.
And if you can defer.
I prefer not to have to do
Right, right.
licenses.
And if you can do that day to day, it gives you more time
Absolutely.
for the white space.
Absolutely.
For the policy.
100%.
For the vision. You know, and it's, you're right, if you could have someone saying, unless there's an issue, we have an issue with the license, then as the licensing authority, you have to step in.
No, we don't.
Or
It's
you
still,
can-
unless it's contrary to the instrument that was signed by the
Even,
select
even
board.
better, so that can constitute a day-to-day operation.
And that's where I was going with it.
again,
And that's where it
Yeah.
belongs.
Right, I agree with Don, 100%. And that allows more white space, it allows for less confusion. I think and it all goes back to the date certain evaluations, because if there's 7 license agreements that got screwed up in the town, because a TA went rogue and started moving people out and evicting people and it wasn't great, well, that can be part of the evaluation at the end of the year.
Question, aren't there certain things that the select board is supposed to be licensing liquor licenses? So I think it's not a global, all
It's-
licenses. I think liquor licenses stay with the select board, according to Mass General law, is that
State
correct?
statute again.
State statute, yeah.
These
So-
would be more considered revenue-generating licenses versus, like ABCC.
They're essentially using our sovereign authority to issue a contract.
Correct.
I mean, and that's why I'm saying, I've never seen any contracting officer at any level of any government take something from the very beginning all the way out to, I'm going out into the field, I'm gonna inspect the widgets to make sure that they're the right size.
No, but Don, how would you then, how would you bring this into the South Harwich Meeting House conversation with the insurance? Would that be, should the select board have even heard the insurance issue, since it falls under the license of the building?
No, but that was peculiar because somehow or another, a contract that nobody understood the language for got changed and language got dropped and we never voted on it.
So this is all my point, right? I mean, where does it end? And I think it ends, at least in my mind, with money and finances. If there's a dollar that's being exchanged for something, the select board should have some involvement in it, maybe not all the involvement, but we should know what's going on.
Ratified.
We can ratify, absolutely.
So you got applause again.
No, that was.
I'm used to it.
How much did you pay them?
Emily's texting them. Applaud now.
Is that why she's hiding under the
Yeah,
blanket?
That's why
applaud
she's
now.
hiding.
It's great.
Are there any
100
other
bucks to each
areas of
person?
concern that you folks have so that we can go back and have a broader discussion? Because all three of us know what we said tonight. The question is, what has not been said? What's an open issue that you guys have been debating and you would like to get an opinion from us, but we haven't met over what that opinion might be?
May I ask him a question through you to that question?
Yes.
Are we looking to take a position as a board on something that they're asking for? Or are we looking to give our
We're looking to have a
five?
discussion on it, yes.
Okay.
It's gonna be an agenda item.
Okay.
But we can't do that without it being in an open meeting.
One of the biggest things I think we've talked about, in addition to the clarity and the guardrails, is compliance. And I think that's where there's potential controversy. You know, if we're gonna put a compliance, and my factor when I talk about compliance, compliance should be about education. It should not be punitive. There might be progressive steps in compliance, but the whole idea is to say, if you're not aware, if you're not familiar that you should be doing something, well, the Compliance Commission will make you aware. You need to be aware that you should be doing it this way.
That still goes back to the word shall, and what does it really mean?
That's where our definitions are gonna be very, 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 very serious up front. But the point being is the clarity, that we get those definitions, the Compliance Commission, how it is going to be established. Is it gonna be appointed, which I'm dead set against? I think it should be elected, and what number of people are gonna do it, and how that's gonna be constituted. The charter's in place. We've well talked about that tonight. Where areas that they just haven't been followed, or maybe interpreted a little bit differently. The only way you're gonna get it done right is with compliance. So I think that's one of the biggest topics that I would hope you would discuss to bring back to us.
I would also like you to really hash out who hires, a term of art is the
Yeah.
point, police chief and fire chief, and who supervises, and what's the solid
They may
board.
be different discussions, who hires versus who manages.
Yes, and I'm happy with that, but I'd like to have something come back from the select board, because one thing that will be important is when we come down to a document that goes to the voters, town administration, select board, we really need to be in agreement with what that says, so that we can avoid piddling contests on election day. I mean, we're planning on doing some outreach at the time and education, and this is what we're doing. I have a great document from Anna that one of the towns did a very nice explanation to the public as to what is in, what is in this for changes. Very nicely done, Anna, so I appreciate that. So we'll be doing some stuff. But I'm gonna look back to, where do you think that should happen? And if it's a point, but be supervised by, we'd like to hear that too.
More or less like the department heads. We confirm, but we do not manage.
Yep.
Madam Chair, quickly. Compliance, in my mind, is a two-way street. And I would have to assume oftentimes the TA and a potential select board member may be the only two who know that someone's out of compliance, right? So how does this commission square the circle and empower a town administrator to correct one of his bosses?
I think that's something that we're working with. I think that we're generally agreed that it's, I think pretty much agreed that they're elected positions. There's a couple of communities where the compliance commission reports to the town administrator. We don't
Right.
like that.
Right.
So we want it to be, I think we're generally agreed, independent.
That's great.
A significant independent. And we don't have the words yet. We're gonna get something from our consultants. I know that a couple of people are working on how that could be worded, and we'll beat it up.
I put together something that I've shared with John and Linda, and I'm still waiting for feedback.
I've got some.
By the way,
I got it done.
like that, very much, thank you.
Great.
So that you understand, Linda, at least my interpretation of what Sandy says when she says guardrails. Guardrails is, to me, its meaning is that within the document, we're putting in compliance. And then there's a compliance group, which elected, hopefully, people can go to for an understanding of what was written and an interpretation.
I'm not sure you're putting compliance throughout the document. If the document says, you will do this in this way,
That's compliance.
well, that's the
instruction.
That's the instruction. The compliance is over here that says,
You
you're
didn't
not
do it.
following the instructions.
Okay, forgive me, but how do you jive that compliance with enforcement?
Well,
Simple.
That's the point.
22.
You start
That's the problem,
educationally,
yeah.
You go educationally, and that's the goal to start, then with enforcement progressively.
Because if it's a toothless tiger
It's
that you
not
wind
gonna
up with is a
we
compliance commission.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Oh.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Again, sorry to interrupt. I think there were a couple things I just wanted to raise to the committee, because we didn't get a chance to go through the middle, but just to raise the committee with the select board there to maybe get their thoughts. So circling back to this issue of the town administrator and sort of incurring their compliance, a couple of things. So the current charter has their terms being indefinite, but at the pleasure of the select board. If we were to put a term, it could be a 3-year term, is like the most common thing. That could be an amendment to the charter. So I'm putting that to the committee to consider also if there's any reaction from the select board members. One of the other things that's unique in the in the Harwich charter is that it's harder to appoint a town administrator than it is to remove them. So there's a 4-member vote required to appoint, and there's a 3-member vote to remove. I'm curious, maybe, it sounds like the select board has not gone through that process. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Most communities, it's either harder to remove them than it is to appoint, or it's the same voting threshold. So that's another thing I just want to point out. And then lastly, you have a significant amount of requirements in the hiring section in terms of education and experience. I would say most communities, they say that this person will be hired based on their background and education, but they don't explicitly lay that out. They allow the sort of the hiring process to do that. So those might be things that maybe select. I don't know if you've gone through a hiring process. Jeff would maybe comment on if that's working and maybe you would like more flexibility. So I just want to point those things out before you let this go.
Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to in
Thank
a
you
few
for
weeks
having
to
us.
having you back again.
Not everyone
Thank you
does.
for being had.
And for good reason.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, now
By
I
the
can
way,
go home and get yelled at.
You're welcome anytime. And I know a couple of the select board members
Yes.
have been here, and thank you for coming. Thank you for coming tonight,
Ah.
Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
Okay,
I'll see you Tuesday.
Yes, I will.
all right, it's almost, it's 8:11. I think one thing that we should probably do before we leave is the possible election to the open commission seat.
Madam Chairman,
Yes?
I
I'm not
move
here.
that we appoint Brendan Lowney to fill the vacancy.
Point of order, if I could.
Yes?
Mr. Lowney is in the room. Might I ask that he recuse himself so that we can speak honestly and openly?
That was my plan, thank you. So
Thank you.
we had 3 people who expressed interest, and they were interviewed by the commission. Mr. Nickerson, Mr. Lowney, and Mr. McManus.
I'll second her motion.
Well, hang on, I've not taken motions yet.
Okay.
I'm not done nattering.
Nattering?
So, hopefully the 2 people who weren't here at least watched the interviews, the tapes. Great, so you can do this. All right, so I will take a motion, Sandy.
I move to
go ahead.
appoint Brendan Lowney to serve in the vacated seat.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Discussion.
I don't know if this is the appropriate place to put it, but I would like to ask the committee to consider holding off if we don't have a deadline or voting on someone, and the reason for that is I've been very busy the last few weeks with work, so I haven't had a chance to talk to many people about this. I would love to see an article in the Chronicle so that it's publicly out there that this is, I mean, I'm sure thousands of people watch our meetings every week, and thousands of people knew that we were looking for another person. But I just don't think it was terribly public, and I think we're doing a disservice to the town if we don't just give it a few more weeks, throw the net wide, ask the 3 gentlemen to also come back, and, because
Or leave
they're
them.
all qualified, but I just think,
But we interviewed them.
or not come back, but so that they would be part of the consideration. That's what I'm saying. I think it's important that we, 6 months from now, don't have people coming and saying, you know, you guys never publicly, other than your meetings, which are public, but I think you can all follow me, it's not out there in the general public that we are missing a person. There's been nothing in the Chronicle that I know of.
There was? Yeah.
Very
And-
briefly,
and-
but it was.
It was asked by the chair for each of us to go out and solicit members of the community. And we had a process. I think the process was followed. And I, for one, would absolutely not want to delay this for a few weeks. I think we should take a vote on a motion that's on the
I
floor.
don't think it's fair to whomever we appoint to delay it for a few weeks, because we're rolling along, and whoever takes that seat has got to get up to speed quickly.
Why are you pointing at me?
I'm not, I'm pointing at the empty chair next to you. Unless you're resigning.
No, not yet.
No?
Darn.
To speak to the motion, I was very impressed with Mr. Lowney we were, at the end of our meeting, we were talking about recall provisions, what was a national law, what was it, da-da-da. What was he doing? He was sitting back there very quietly. He was on his phone doing this. And at the end of our discussion, he said, I've been looking and I don't see anything that discusses that. He jumped in. I mean, he, not being a member of the committee, came in an interview, but he immediately did something.
And he also stayed till the end of the meeting.
So I don't hold that against people.
Madam Chair, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lowney called me because he watched the meeting, and he said, I understand you're looking for members. He said, I've watched your meetings, which, number one, blows me away that anyone outside of Mr. Handler has watched all of our meetings. But this gentleman did. He watched our meetings. He called saying, you were asked to bring names back. I would be interested because I've been following you. I think it's interesting. I think I could contribute. No one else did that. And I love the fact that we do have someone who's a nerd like me, who enjoys municipal government, that took an interest, made a call to say I'm interested, showed up, stayed the entire meeting. In fact, was the only one here tonight, because it was on our agenda. The other interviewees did not attend tonight. I would urge that we vote for Mr. Lowney.
Any other discussion? Yes, Paul?
I like Brendan, I serve with him on committees. I would prefer Bob Nickerson myself.
But that's not the motion on the full table.
No, I know, but I don't understand how the voting is going. Is it, we would defeat that motion? And then
Yes,
get
there's a motion on the floor to appoint Brendan Lowney to the open position. When we're done discussing, there will be a vote. It will either pass or it'll fail. If it fails, I'll entertain another motion.
Okay,
So,
well, okay.
so but that is the motion on the floor.
What does
My concern with Brendan, just to complete my thought, is that I know he's committed and intelligent and would be a strong member. I don't deny that. I only question the fact that this charter commission takes a lot of time. He serves as a chairman of an important committee in this town. He's on other committees in this town, and he has a young family, and he is working.
He's not chairman of the Housing Trust anymore.
Right.
Oh, he isn't?
No.
Not since Larry
Larry
Valentine
came
was
back.
appointed.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of people who sit on multiple committees.
Well, I know, but John chairs. I thought he was still the chair. Yeah.
When Larry was appointed, he went into the chair automatically.
Okay, I stand corrected.
So,
I know Brendan, I've met with him many times. 2 regulatory committees is a lot of committees in my mind. And I've been wrestling with that for the past week, actually.
2 regulatory committees?
Yes, the housing committee I consider a regulatory committee.
it is not presented.
You know, it's,
It's
but,
not.
and I met with him just this week, because I had met with the housing committee on specific items, which were pretty thoughtful items. Things like, should the committee self-fund, and how can it do that?
You're talking about the trust or the committee?
The trust.
Okay.
Should the committee get a return on every investment? These are big, thoughtful items. They're not just throwaway and take a lot of time. I know this, I couldn't handle this committee in dealing with those issues. They're just very big, very large issues. And I tend to have the ability to multitask. Again, I got this random memory that's terrible. I can't do it. And so I judge it by that. I think he's bright. I think he's articulate. I think he would be fabulous if he was on this committee and no other committee. So that gives you where I'm at.
Madam Chair,
Go.
just to counter, if I can. He's been watching every meeting. He came in last week with a printout of every agenda and every copy of the minutes. So obviously, as you can multitask, there are those who can. I chair 2 other committees in this town. I attend almost every select board meeting. There's a capacity to do things if there's the passion and the interest to do it. He's already watching. He's been participating through TV. Why not let him sit at the table? And as you said, he's bright, he's articulate, and he's young, which, no disrespect to anybody sitting
I
at this
disrespect,
table.
that's disrespectful now. You're going too far.
No disrespect.
Are you trying to say he's going to lower the average age?
He is going to
And why are
lower
you
the
looking at me
average.
first, Richard?
Is that gonna
I
affect
think
our
I'm the
premiums?
youngest right now, I think.
I don't think we have to counter each other. We have 2 different
Yeah,
points of
also,
views.
no, I just,
And that's fine.
and I think that he can take the test.
Watch this. If he's voted on, I would have no problem having him on. For me, I can't vote for him
That's fine.
because, again, I look at it and say, he's got so much to do. And even though, you know what, when you want something, you'll watch it on TV, you'll come, you'll take minutes. I don't consider that qualifications.
Lou, I have to say, I sit on multiple not-for-profit boards. I do pro bono accounting for multiple not-for-profits. I'm sitting on town committees, I'm sitting on this. I'm an elected library trustee. If you want to do it, you figure out how to do it. So whether or not you couldn't do it
That's right.
is no reason
I can
to
only,
vote or not vote for someone.
I can't, again, I
You
can't
wouldn't do
influence.
it.
Personally, this is where I stand.
Okay.
I'm not advocating. If the group feels differently, I'm always the outsider. I'm always out of the box. I will be very happy. But I can't be part of making him happy here. How's that sound?
It seems a little bit judgmental. I think people handle their own lives their own way. I run 2 businesses.
I'm
I
very
do a-
judgmental, by the
Do a
way.
whole lot of other things besides this. When I was on the select board, for the majority of the time I was on the select board, I was a single mother and I was working full-time in Hyannis. You do what you want to do because you want to do it.
Again, that's
Again.
you.
Do we have any other comments, any other discussion?
What do we need for a vote?
Simple majority.
Majority,
Simple majority? 4 is what?
not a majority.
Not a majority.
5. Because we have 8 sitting here, so
Yeah.
we need
I
5.
just want to be clear on that,
Yep. So,
Yeah,
any
just-
other discussion?
just my 2 cents, I think all 3 candidates, definitely have the ability to serve on this committee. And Brendan, I don't know all that well. I've talked to him over the years a couple times at different meetings and things. Ed, I've interacted with him. He was on the finance committee with me. I've interacted with as selectman. Bob Nickerson, I don't know hardly at all. And but I have talked with Bob, and I like Bob. So that's my opinion right there.
Okay, are we ready for a vote? Are we? All right, the motion on the floor is to appoint Brendan Lowney to our open seat on the commission. All those in favor, please raise a hand.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed?
I'm abstaining. I just,
And we have 1 abstention.
yeah, I'd like
Vote
to,
carries.
to throw a wider net.
So the vote carries. Vote carries.
All right,
4-3 to 1.
Mr. Lowney is,
You
I
probably
needed 5.
Nope.
No?
Need a simple majority.
simple,
Oh, simple majority.
and we got a simple
You had
majority.
4 to 3 to 1.
Yeah, I understand that, but I thought we needed 5.
probably invite Mr. Lowney back in the room.
You have to
Have him sit
a
down.
majority for a quorum,
Majority.
but a simple majority on a vote.
But I just asked the question, how many do we need to vote? And you said 5, someone said 5.
If all 8 people
Everybody
voted,
voted.
you would need 5.
Yeah.
Someone abstained, that is not
Oh, so that's
a
not
positive.
considered a
Right.
vote.
You would have had to vote against.
Did you know that?
I didn't, but
We have a vote.
All right.
It's fine. I mean, he's certainly smart. I've served with him before. I don't have anything against him. I
Neither
just
do I.
personally
Neither do I. Again, it's
would
not-
have wished
I-
that we had an article in the newspaper
Then I'd like to
and
change my vote.
have
The
it
4-4
brought
would do
You
that.
what?
I would like to change my vote.
What were you? You were one of the against?
I was, yes, I wasn't, not so much against, I just didn't vote for it. But I'd like to change it to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make it unanimous at this point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll change it to 4 then, if you wanna
Anybody
do
make it
anonymous.
unanimous?
Well, right now at 5.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was listening to, what
Hang
did
on
you
a
say
minute.
about
Can we
4-4?
stop here for a minute? Blah, blah, blah. We just had a vote change, so it's now 5, 2, and 1. Does anybody else want to change their vote?
I do.
Shut up.
I would make a motion that we do it by acclamation.
Yes,
Oh.
I will second that.
Yay.
Aye.
Is it good enough?
No sense at this point.
All right.
Let's make it
recommend it.
unanimous. It makes for a
Yes.
better starting relationship.
Right.
That's a
Absolutely.
nice.
Absolutely.
Nobody's against Brendan,
No,
it's
no
just,
one's against it at
yeah.
all.
And I get all that. Now, it's getting late.
And my
Next
wife's gonna
week.
kill me.
Next week,
Should we invite him back in?
we can, but I'd like to finish this. Which is, we didn't get to elected town officials and town agencies. So,
don't give it up,
I'm
don't
not
give it
saying a
up.
word, I'm going next door. They're
So-
still clapping.
do we move next week, the elected, chapter 6, which is the elected town officials?
Yeah.
So that would be chapter 6,
Yeah.
okay. Because
Question,
then
Madam Chair.
I would also like to still have on,
Question, have we solved the recall? Enough for now?
no,
No.
Okay, so do we want to bring that back and solve it,
I
or?
was going to
Oh,
get to that.
okay, sorry.
If I could. So chapter 6, and also continuing information on recall. Sandy did some work, Paul did a nice chart. I have some information from our town clerk, so I think we can put the recall to bed next week and talk about the elected town officials. Does that sound okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I think,
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Lou, do you wanna shut that off? Please.
Thank you. That was very nice to meet you.
no,
Oh,
that's,
that's
this is why we have, oh, it was smart.
Yeah, I was-
Absolutely.
And record having vote.
And
Oh, I do that?
online.
He'll
I
watch
think.
the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing anyway.